Good morning. My name is Ave Tarend. I'm senior software engineer at Bolt, and today I'm going to talk about what I, as a software engineer, expect from DevOps engineers. It's a DevOps conference here, but how many of you are DevOps guys? Most, of course. And how many of you are software, let's say, software engineers, more like feature engineers? Okay, quite a lot then. I have worked 3 years at Bolt. Before Bolt, I have worked 7 years at Skype/Microsoft, and before that, I worked at Swedbank/Hansapank. Who remembers Hansapank? Quite a lot of people, yeah, and Estonians mostly know that. I have a master's degree from Tallinn University of Technology. I'm married, I have 3 kids. I'm passionate about dancing, also getting more women to IT field. And I have a few crowns too. The main ones are Mrs. Estonia 2021 and Mrs. Earth 2022. And beauty queens should have their mission in this world, something to be made better in this world. And it can be world peace, of course. It can be something related to charity. But in my case, it's, of course, getting more women to IT field. So more than 10 years, I have been talking at workshops, at presentations, to get more women and girls interested about IT, to inspire and to educate them, and to break stereotypes. And it's not about raising some percentage of women in some company or raising some quotas about it, but it's about the fact that different people have different viewpoints, and they have better energy, they have more information, then more profit, and the best results will come. And also, some people just need encouraging that you can do it, because very often women don't just believe that they can do and they can work in this IT field, and they need somebody to encourage them, so that later they can say that they told me I can't, that's why I did it. So I started as a QA engineer at Swedbank. Very quickly I was promoted to senior QA engineer. Then I continued as a Java developer. And after that, the hardest period of my life started. 3 maternity leaves mixed with software engineering job at Skype. So it's like to home, back to work, to home, back to work. And third time, when I went to maternity leave, and when I told it to my manager, he said, "And you are doing it again." But now I can just concentrate more on working. Kids are a bit bigger. About Bolt. So Bolt is one of the fastest growing tech companies in the world. We have 100 million customers. We are in more than 500 cities in 45 countries. So it's a very big company already. We have 5 core products. It's rides, rentals, delivery, core, and market. And how do we operate? We have product teams, and we have layers of platform teams. Product teams are small, independent, doing some microservice architecture. We have like 50 teams, something like that, and 400 engineers, around 400. So what developers want? We say we wrote it, make it run. It's like without that is DevOps model. And what the operation people say, we made it run, don't break it. So developers need to deliver the code as quickly as they can and push it to production. And what operations people are responsible is the stability. They want rather less changes and the stability. So this is where the DevOps came into being, to unite these worlds. So people understand DevOps differently. It's more philosophy or concept, and I would say just set of practices about infrastructure, about automation procedures, about monitoring. It combines software development and IT operations, promotes agile software development so that we can deliver fast, and helps to reduce development lifecycle. So where the feature code ends, there the DevOps guys come into play, at least in Bolt. So Bolt has two types of engineers. One type is feature engineers, and the other type is DevOps engineers. In our case, feature engineers are not expected to have Linux skills, SSH or Kubernetes, Docker, those skills. Yeah, in some companies, developers have all the hardware and load balancers on their hands, but in our case, this is not the case. And as we have 400 engineers, and teams are small, and if we would have all this DevOps knowledge inside the teams, it would mean that every team has like something like 3 DevOps guys, because people tend to go to vacation or get sick or maybe hit by train. So that means that at least 3 guys are needed. And in Bolt case, it's decided that DevOps knowledge is centralized in centralized team, and they provide smooth and good tools, and feature engineers just use it. This picture is from internet, but what can I say about Bolt is we have Git, Jira, Confluence. We have a little bit of JUnit used in our custom-made fancy testing framework. Otherwise, for code, we use TypeScript and Node.js. We have also Kubernetes also now, AWS, and Docker. Now, what I, as a software engineer, expect from DevOps engineers. First thing, just to work in agile way, to deliver quickly so that time to production is quick, smooth, gives me kind of security and feeling that everything is going well. Manual tasks are automated, tools are effective, and sounds like easy thing to expect from them. And also, I expect some hardcore magic in setting up environments, and that we have that magic. Of course, they are making it better and better and doing some amendments to the system always. But already, I can say that the creation of environments is magical. It's fully automated, and the environments are really similar. And even in localhost, it's just few commands, and I get everything running. All the services, all the test framework, database, everything is working, and I can just concentrate on feature development. Building, testing, deploying, building, testing, deploying. What developers are afraid of, they are afraid to mess something up. And that's why we need trustworthy tools. Smooth continuous integration to get quick feedback, and so that we can learn about the failures as early as possible. I have to say that we have to contact our SRE team or DevOps team quite rarely. So this means that they are doing actually quite a good job in those tools. I also need, as a developer, the feeling that testing framework is thought through and supporting my work. I believe in tests very much, as I started as a QA engineer, my career, and that's why I test a lot. I need all type of tests, unit integration and end-to-end tests. In our case, actually, we have mostly those, we call component tests, component, multiple component, and external component tests. This is by design, and this is so because it's so easy to mock in the those tests, so easy to create data in our database. It's easy to check the results, call the APIs first, or run some what we call grunts internally. And I think this test framework that we have is quite unique because in most of the companies, there are many pain points how to set up things in tests. And when I came to Bolt, I actually saw that really many things are so easy to set up in tests. Also, I think that our internal communication between APIs is from other service APIs is very smooth. It's just, for me, looks like regular function call. I just call other service APIs, but behind the scenes, DevOps team has done a lot. It's very often in the code that I write one line of code, and then with generators, a lot of other things are generated, which are needed for our systems. So quite a lot of magic happens in our code, actually. And I think this API generator in Bolt is also something quite unique. And yeah, tests I need, of course, that they run in Jenkins, and I also need to run them locally to check that my development is working. And yeah, smooth deployment matters, all the process when I'm going to deploy, so that I see all those steps, that it's checking the feature branch, checking the pull request, does it have approvals, it's doing some creating feature branch, doing some locking, then building, then releasing, and after that merging. So I need to see all those steps and if everything is going smooth. And yeah, feature developers have the responsibility to deploy their own applications to all environments, to pre-live and production. Also, sometimes we might need easy and safe rollbacks and emergency releases sometimes, but not very often. But at least we need this confidence that this functionality is there. Magic in setting up new services is also important to our developers, because when we set up new service, then we have quite a lot of, let's say, skeleton code already there. And it's very easy to set up a new service and resources for that. For example, setting up a new queue, there is just very little code, like almost one line, and everything else is generated and done automatically by the tools. And also what I heard from DevOps teams that they have been thinking about, I think if they already did it or are finishing with it, is that deleting those resources if they are not needed anymore. So if code is not anymore referencing to them, they need to delete, because otherwise it's a waste of resources. Everything is money, you know. Database support, not very often, but sometimes, as we are so fast-growing company, we need sometimes to figure out why some index is slow or add some new one. Sometimes, of course, new tables or new columns. In so big company where tables are so big, I just can't execute DDL by myself to add a new column, because DBAs are doing their own tricks about it. So they are creating a new table and replicating data to there because of the volumes. And yeah, sometimes it might be necessary to have them data fixed too. They have quite a lot of functionality created for us. For example, scheduled workers, which we call crons. They are not Unix cron tabs, but we call them, because for us they look like crons. And there are quite a lot of parameters which we can configure, like limit or dataset query or some retry logic parameters. So we just need to use them wisely, and that's it. So yeah, all those release pipelines and common things that they develop for us, these are already mentioned. And also, I'm not developing very often front-end part, but when I need it, then in the React Native guys have also prepared a lot of components for us. So we just take them and use them. We don't need to invent the wheel. So it's quite convenient for regular feature developer. And yeah, what developers need from DevOps engineers, that they have made tools for code quality checks too, so that, for example, nobody has forgotten to write await before some promise, or that quotes are done everywhere the same way. So these are quite custom or common checks, but they have adjusted them a little bit to Bolt. Another thing we need is monitoring, logging, and alerting functionality. Of course, this is there is responsibility on DevOps engineers and SREs, and also in the feature engineers side. So they provide us the tools and visibility, what happens in the live systems, and we need to see that our functionality is working well. Of course, they have their own responsibilities. They have where AWS server is down, then this is not my business. This is like, let's say, I don't even notice it. They are dealing with this by themselves. But if something happens with functionality, with some bigger load, then this is my business. Usually the goal is that systems are self-recoverable in our case, and that's the goal. It usually is that way. But if in some cases it's not yet, then it's the way to go. And we need to trust that the systems are up to date and secure. Of course, there is a responsibility again on software engineering side too, so that we don't write some SQL injections or some bad things into code. But yeah, it's, let's say, both sides need to be responsible of that part. So we need just technical skills, that they are catching up with the industry, they suggest the best practices, they know how things work in live, are able to quickly work, provide the logs, provide the tools, know the cloud and the DB. Also, communication skills about what software engineers need. This is quite important, I think, for them to understand what we really need. In Bolt case, as we have 400 engineers, they mostly get the feedback from tech leads or team leads. It's actually not just, usually just every engineer is not talking to them directly. Also I added a slide about what not to do as a software engineer. A little bit mentioned also before that we also have to think that we don't write some SQL injection or some bad thing into the code. When we roll out new feature, then of course we should check that not doing some big bang release, like high load of new things together, but just rolling out things gradually. And if needed, taking into account the differences in live environment. And yeah, thinking about in performance is also a good thing to do in advance. And to have enough tests, of course. This is our responsibility. And not very wise to use excuse worked in my machine. So yeah, added some points not to look stupid from DevOps engineering side. And I think that effective teamwork begins and ends with communication. It's whether it's automatic or human communication, it's both are important, but I would even say that all the points that I mentioned are more or less related to automatic or human communication. And the more we have automated things, the better. The more the systems tell to engineer what is wrong and what could be fixed, the quicker we get the solution to it that can move forward. So if everyone is moving forward together, then success takes care of itself. And then those magics happen. Of course, we have also some things to be improved, and always they're continuously doing those things, but already I see that there is quite a lot of magic done by them to us. Thank you. I've added here a few contacts also about myself, so email address, LinkedIn and Instagram. In LinkedIn, I might not answer very quickly because I have too many recruiter emails coming in. So it's like 3 times a month I will go and click those buttons there. But if you need quicker answer, then email or Instagram is a better option.
That's awesome. Do we have questions for Ave? Okay. We can take quite a lot of them, so do prepare. We have time.
Thank you. If communication is so vital between your feature engineers and your DevOps engineers, how do you facilitate that communication? I mean, how do they communicate? How often do they get together?
Feature engineers and DevOps engineers, usually they get feedback from tech leads or team leads, because we have 400 engineers. Most of them are feature engineers, and not everybody actually can talk to them directly, because otherwise they would have like some layer, some support layer, but they didn't plan to add this. This is looks too overkill. They better feel that inside the team a lot of discussions already happen, and then team leads or tech leads can contact them.
So their only communication is between the tech leads?
Usually, yeah, but I think there are many exceptions too.
Do they ever get together for team events and meet each other in person?
We have had team events too, but now the company is so big, so I don't remember when we last had just engineering event. We had them, yeah, but now we have summer summit, which is for everybody, and we have smaller team events, but yeah, the engineering events, now we don't have them that often.
Okay. And would it be possible to see the slide early on with the DevOps slide from the internet with your tech stack overlaid onto it?
Yeah.
Thanks.
We had one more question here.
Hello. So clearly the deployments are quite large.
Yes.
My question is, do you utilize green-blue deployment style or approach?
Green-blue means that I can
Test in production.
Test in production. Yeah, let's say I test in production when I release, then I check things in production that they are working, I monitor, I see, I look in database that everything is going well. So yeah, I never press the merge button with closed eyes, so I test in production a lot. As a former QA engineer, I test a lot, and if needed, I roll back, and we have functionality for rollbacking, so it's not a problem.
Is this segregation of how much of this new feature will be, or I mean, each new feature will not switch out the complete platform, so it will add something, and this new feature will not be available for everything at the same time. How is this determined to which scope this blue side will be distributed?
In my case, I'm not working in very business critical systems. I work with fiscalization, which means that there is some time to react, let's say. So I just roll out actually to all instances, check if it's okay. If it's not, I can roll back. In my case, it's actually what can happen is just that fiscalizations don't go through, maybe. But then I can roll back, and then those entries are retried. So in my case, I don't have to worry about downtime because it's fiscalization code.
Thank you. Do we have one more question?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much for the talk. Can you please describe what was the best recent experience with those DevOps guys?
Best recent experience. Very hard question, actually. Best recent experience was maybe when I tried to understand how something works, then they are very helpful to explain. Helpful to explain how, I don't know, for example, how our release branch is created or how something works internally. So actually I can't just go and ask them. So it's not forbidden. It's just if you have questions and you are interested in how things work, then you can just go. And if I don't know how things work, then it's also a good thing because it shows how smoothly their systems work.
One more question. I think let's make it the last one. More time for coffee.
Okay, thank you for the talk. Given all the facts that what your claims are towards SRE or DevOps engineers, how big is the DevOps org in Bolt?
It's rather small, as far as I have understood. It's small and centralized, yeah, offering quite a lot of services. I just yesterday talked to our chief architect, and he said that for a very, very long time we had just 3 database engineers, and now we have more. But at that time, company was already, I don't know how big, so really, really big, and they realized in some point that they have just 3 database engineers for big company. Now it's a bit bigger, the team, and there are many SRE guys, so many DevOps guys, but it's rather still small.
Thank you.
Thank you.
One question. How many Bolt engineers does it take to solve a race condition?
Race condition. Yeah, it can happen sometimes. But how many engineers it takes, I don't know.
Anyway, let's all thank Ave nicely.
Thank you.